Hello and welcome to This and That. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer with a very questionable internet connection from my hotel. So
It's okay.
Enjoy.
Because you're going now to Greece. Are you performing in Greece or vacationing in Greece?
I wish I was vacationing in Greece. I'm performing in Athens. So I'll be Johnny live at the Acropolis as well.
I didn't know if you were going to have like a Mamma Mia moment. But anyway, this is...
I'd have to see that show first before I really got the reference. Okay.
All right. Well, anyway, let's move on to the skating event that's going to happen, because as long as your internet could cut out at any moment, let's start with the big news. It was an upset in Canada. I think Brian Orser may be drinking heavily for the next month after this debut. The Russian troll accounts like Yana Orr never know if she's a troll or just a brainwashed human being, but
right,
she
exactly.
will be commenting all over Facebook and any other medium. So let's discuss. Brady Tennell came out here. Many people thought that she deserved to win the short program over Yevgenia Medvedeva. What did you think of the new Brady?
Okay. I think Brady is doing everything she can.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I think the Benoit choreography is interesting. Mm-hmm. I wonder if it's just one notch beyond Brady, but I see Brady really trying. I don't see that it's a lack of interest in it. Mm-hmm. I just don't know that it's her exact vocabulary, but it's very effective. Over the summer, for her to now come back with two flips, two Lutzes in the free. I mean, I think she's really making herself a contender. The Lutz loop makes me a little nervous. The thing about Brady when I saw her at Nationals live last year is everything was so crisp and clean. And this year they have complicated a lot of the steps into the jump. She's doing harder passages. She's doing a lot in the second half. But I'm not as confident. Like, it's a little bit like I lean in to be like, how is this going to land? But I think for now, she made a pretty big statement. You know, she's doing everything she's supposed to.
She's doing what the rules ask in terms of the transitions. The thing it gets into, the actual knee bend, the actual rise and fall of your knee on the ice, which when you are tall like she is, and we talk about those boots a lot, how much ankle bend they're allowing. That's the kind of thing. I think as Medvedeva is relearning her skating skills, that's also going to be something to discuss. But with Brady, it is a lot. Like the free skate dress is a lot. There's a lot of clutter especially in the second. Yeah, I just mean in the actual steps and everything. But she is doing.
Oh. Okay.
She's doing what she can do, and she's only had so many months, and they're making a run for it. You know, they're going for the Grand Prix. She showed up prepared, and there are a lot of other ladies from all over the world who are going through a lot of coaching changes, maturity, off-season, technique changes.
She could really sneak in. She's doing it just right.
She's Romanian gymnasticsing it in, okay? She is like, Jonathan, there are other girls who may be more talented or have more charisma, and she's just going to be steady Eddie and get through there.
It's true.
In like the Rachel Flatt dream way on the international stage that, you know, her mother was praying for. So
But there's an old adage where it's like hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I'm not saying that her competitors aren't working hard, but they're in flux right now. And she is so solid that this is a really big. She's taking advantage of this opportunity.
Some of them shockingly in flux, I would say.
Yeah.
And not even talking about Russia. Okay. I thought that, you know, yeah, she may get her way in there. It's not the most interesting skating if she can keep working and developing. And I think eventually they're going to have to really spend some time working on, you know, the actual stroking and skating, because she doesn't need to necessarily do all of that clutter. You know, some of this,
right?
It could come from a beautiful edge. It could come from, you know, a great glide across the ice that she doesn't seem to have.
Now, Dave, can you talk to me? I've asked other coaches about her arm position.
Yeah.
In the jumps. And some of them are like, no, that seems pretty straightforward, traditional, like classic position to
It's
me.
a little
but I'm
wingy.
getting a bit of the chicken wingy.
It is chicken wingy.
And I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by that. I mean, obviously, to me, someone who has not done triple jumps, it seems like it would be so in the way. You see so many of the men lay it so much flatter.
When you use the arms, obviously a way to get into the jump, and any way that you're causing rotation. We're going to talk about this, why Medvedeva has to change and why she's working on this. Obviously, she uses some upper body in her jumps, but she balances it with lower body.
Right.
Frank Carroll technique is more lower body than upper body in the jumps.
Yeah.
And that's what Mishin would particularly like. And then Terry uses a lot of upper body in the jumps. She uses upper body. Actually, a lot of the Atari girls don't seem to have a set entrance technique. They have a set technique in the air where they get into the great spin position. But when we talk about why Medvedeva has to change now that she has sprouted several inches, become a woman, overnight.
Yeah, and I will say, I went back after I watched the free skating because it's easy to be like, what's going on, But then when I really went back, I was like, we're talking about a girl versus a woman. When I went back and just watched some of the old programs, I'm trying to tread lightly, but the front of her looked very different before.
Yeah.
And it's not to trivialize anything, but I mean, literally, your physics will change.
Nature happens, and however you think about the timing and the why has happened. She's had time off over the summer. Those girls, you can even see it in the
aerodynamics.
You can even see it in the documentaries that Atari would have them on the scale talking about, drinking water for 3 days, anything to slow it down to peak to the Olympics, and you could see both of her top girls have become women because as soon as you have calories, your body does what it is supposed to do.
And I think she can adapt, but adaptation
time.
Needs to happen.
I think it's going to take until, I was thinking 2020 Worlds would be a really great time because I think the thing is that what she's doing, and I talked to a couple people that know the situation, is that there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, right? Like they've got David Wilson, they've got Sandra, they've got Ghislaine, they've got Tracy, they've got her mother, they've got the Federation, they've got, all these people involved with, in addition to Brian, in addition to, Medvedeva. And the thing is that she is in between, she's competing probably earlier than they would love. They would love to have 2 more months, 3 more months to really work this technique. So when that happens, it's the same thing. Like you try to make some changes and maybe you're implementing 20% of the things that you've been working on.
Of course. Yeah,
and then you're still doing some of the old techniques, some of the new techniques, some's working, it's not comfortable yet. And you could tell she still sets for her jumps the way she always has, but there's a lot of things that need to just happen. And you could kind of see it on the loop where, go watch Carolina Kostner, because I was trying to look at a taller skater, and what is she doing that a taller skater is not? You watch Carolina, her body kind of melts into the edge of the takeoff of the loop, and she uses the natural edge and the rise and fall of the knee to get and generate the speed, which is textbook figures trying to do, the jump properly, especially for a taller person. What the Atari girls do and why they are so successful when they are small pre-puberty and then post-puberty is that they will use their body to get into the rotation position. Now, someone like Trusova is so physically strong throughout her body, she is not twerking anything. She's not doing anything unnatural that's going to take her out of the circle of rotation. But when you watch Yulia and you watch Evgenia, they will use their upper body and kind of jump with their back. And that's how they are getting in the lift, that it doesn't just come from the legs on the takeoff. It's coming and it's lifting in. And it does give them some momentum. But as soon as you start adding curves, inches, anything that gets you so slightly out, and you could tell, 2016 was Medvedeva's, peak year where everything was going so well, and it's been kind of getting harder and harder for her since then. And you can kind of see that she's working the jumps, but it's taking time. And it's getting out of the position, so they're now having to relearn these jumps and retrain the body. So,
and she's always unfortunately been forced to be a symbol. They were using her as a symbol during the IOC problems right before Korea. Now she's a symbol about Russian nationalism.
And traitor.
Yeah, and really, you would think that she actually no longer skates for Russia the way that people are assessing this. Like, she abandoned Russia. She just changed a coach.
Yeah.
To me, it's very unfair to think she has turned her back on Russia. She has not at all. So I think Tarasova's support is very important. Yeah. And I think, they're trying to find their way. I think the short program is much more successful than the tango. I'm not quite sure. Maybe intellectually, I understand why they thought the idea of a tango
It was her idea, too. It was her desire to do a tango.
Well, then that's important to let her have that. It just misses the mark for me. And exposes a lot of what she is working on. To do that kind of thing, it forces her now to address issues that were masked before, which would happen when anyone goes anywhere. And instead of continuing to hide it, they're just exposing it.
Yeah.
But she's also, how can...
I feel like they would mask things before. With attire, there's a lot of flailing that goes on, and as they get taller... Look, if you watch her do a step sequence in 2016, and then you watch her the next season, especially before Worlds, even during Worlds, you can see that the edges, as she got taller, you could see that her run of the blade was not as good as it was the year before. And then at the Olympics, it was even weaker. Watch Europeans before, when she's not, really 100% back. You could tell that her actual basic skating, the posture, she's not getting as much ride off of each edge compared to her height, and you could see that this has to do with a skating skill. Now, it's interesting you talk about the tango, because tango is all about posture and legs and kicks, and that can teach her, but it's kind of like she's in the middle of hell. And when you're in the middle of hell, you got to keep going. Like, you're either going to change, or you're going to try to do the old thing, and then your career is just going to end. It's going to be a Yulia, we're going to have to change, it's going to be kind of a crash and burn style to that. So, and
it's interesting because what you're talking about is so much of that cluttered choreography before. The energy was like here. Everything kind of came from here, in addition to the jumping up.
Because that's how she's using the edge. That's how she's riding the edge instead of just knee bending.
And in the footwork, she would lead with her sternum and let it flop her balance back and forth. And now they're trying to lower her center, get in touch with a pelvic floor. That's what's propelling you forward through these movements instead of up here. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I just wish everyone would stop putting so much emphasis on each time she skates, like it's supposed to be this allegory for all things international and coaching and all this sort of stuff. I want to be able to find it.
She looked worse here in some elements that I think she did a couple weeks ago. Look, she's had more time. Everything is still adjusting. There's also the real pressure of competition. She's really being scored now, publicly seen. And very interesting that Zagitova did not compete. They've said that
I was just going to say, she could have pretended she had a visa problem also and just baked at home. But she's going to learn more by doing this. She's learning this now, not on the Grand Prix.
I love our one fan who messages us on Twitter, personally messages us, then comments on it, and then I was treading carefully there. I said, well, it could seem, and then he mischaracterized it anyway. But, look, the number one athlete in Russia, they haven't kept up her travel documents. But everyone else from Russia got to Ondrej Nepela just fine. So I'm just saying,
And it's a viable strategy for them. If you truly think that, even when Tanith was on being like, well, I did have an oral surgery, a tooth thing. I didn't have to have it then, but I thought, why not? Because there is an art to that strategy. So there's
an art to everything in skating. Make it a tribute program. It'll work the PCS, okay? It works
we'll get there.
every time, okay, in skating. Quote me.
And what I will say,
you'll be
now,
off
Yevgenia, Yevgenia doing orange-colored sky. What I will applaud is, and some people were saying this, and I was just shaking my head. I was like, you guys, No, she should not be wearing orange.
No,
because
she
it
should
says
not be
orange in
wearing
the
orange.
title.
How literal are we with the people that watch
That's, to
skating?
me, that's like sign language. And so even despite what you think about the look, I'm just glad it's not an orange dress.
It's not
so
the
that we're
dress
not.
that it's not the dress that the team had thought she was going to do. Again, talk about the cooks. Like, there have been multiple dresses made, and then she said it's going to shift. I didn't think that the short dress was actually. I thought that there could be changes to it, and that maybe the skirt could have more fringe and was a tad skimpy. But I thought it looked like it was made like a couple months when there was less of Genya. But I thought that she has this like problem with the silhouette in a lot of her skates where there's not like a real waist going on. And look, she was never the best dress skater in the past. So, now she's like a superstar, and now it's like time for the real dresses to come out. So
Right.
she'll get there.
I think time will answer all of these dilemmas.
Time and maturity and,
Yeah.
Right now she really loves her rose-colored skates and the Adea boots, and she's, near where Jackson is made, and, I think that they can talk to her about aesthetic as she grows and matures, and they can talk to her about less is more, and look at Carolina, and like a fine wine. When we're 18, I had an earring, I would dye my hair, like... It's true.
I pretty much just dress like a mom, so nothing has changed. It's just I was dressing like a late 90s mom, and now I'm dressing like an early 2000s mom.
You don't look like a mom, Jonathan, anyway.
Okay.
So, that was, I think, look, look at the look. It's going to be, I think she'll make it to Worlds, but I think it could be, it's a great time, and what it is... Someone texted me about her, and I just said it would be a great time for Marin Honda to start practicing. This would be the time for...
Marin could have her Brady moment, except Marin maybe is more naturally gifted than someone like Brady.
And I really think if they can work on the Sao Cow and get it comfortable, it's the year for Ensu to make a move in...
people ready to make a move, this is your time. This is your time to make a move because so many people are in flux.
Marin, Yoonsu, Rika Kihira, I think you could see the new wave kind of pushing through. Especially because we have a whole other year until the attire crop become seniors. So that is another, you could kind of see Satoko, what's going on with the jumps? Are they going to be scored that well into the +5, -5? It's time to make a move. And when we talked to Jason Brown, he missed an opportunity here. So I think, but someone like June is making his move. You could kind of see. Unfortunately, I think a bigger problem even than Medvedeva is Higuchi right now. Just that, I was just surprised that...
I was surprised by that also.
I don't even know really... she uses a lot of... Jenny was talking about this. She uses a lot of her left leg on the push of the jumps, which causes some tilt. Kevin Amos does this as well. I don't speak French. I don't pretend to. And it can get people a little bit tilted in the air. And I think with Wakaba, you can see that on the flip and the Lutz, on the takeoff. There's a... the way
inequality to the balance.
Yes, it goes like that.
Okay.
So... getting again out of the circle. So you look at Yuna, it goes up, it rotates, it comes down, it's like butter. Okay, that is the goal. Okay, so which is why she was rewarded so well. It was like Yuna was created in a lab. Okay, that was just like spectacular, except for the feet that didn't point. But and that spiral.
You got to take the good with the bad. Yeah, you can't have it all.
But the rest. But in terms of jumping and so I thought that was. Now let's talk about your friend Rika Kihira in Bratislava with Ondrej Nepela doing the first triple axel, triple toe by a lady that we've seen outside of Midori Ito, I think, in the practice session. That was spectacular. After she really missed it, landed on the wrong hip in the short. Which are the falls that really hurt, goes and nails 2, gets a 147 in the free skate. What did you think of her?
I'm a fan, and this was going to go one of a couple ways, because last year she was finding her way, and I just could never get over how well she skated at the Junior Grand Prix final that one year, and was still buried because of the Russian component marks. When it happens so light and so clean, and there's a nice. I'm very hopeful for her, and also there's a changing of the guard happening in Japan, I think, also.
Yes.
Sotoko is very vulnerable right now. Marin has not proven a reliability.
And Wakaba and
having
Kihira
some
are
issues.
also vulnerable. So this is
Sakamoto had a real rough start. Yeah. So I think she's ready to make her move.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
It is exciting, and I think she's right where she needs to be. I think now is the time where the packaging, she needs to look like $1 million. And Sotoko knows how to dress herself. This girl she really seems to admire a lot of the Russian and things and adopt it into her skating. But she has got to, the tights over the boots need to stop. She needs to mirror what Sotoko does. She needs Sotoko's dressmaker and Sotoko's look on the ice. And then she needs the bun, the low bun in the back, the ponytail. And the way she does the ponytail flopping around looks very Michelle Kwan 1994. It looks very junior and a senior. So if she's going to compete for a world title, you need to do, what Ensu is doing. You need to look the part and looking the senior grand dame of the sport.
And it's a really interesting concept, this triple axel, triple toe loop, because again, I think we're the same here. We came from that world of like the Midori Tanya triple axels that were so enormous.
This is based on technique versus power,
and landed with such a thud often. And that was part of the excitement, that you could never have just like tacked on a triple toe loop like that. So it's interesting because, Mao's had this lighter quality to it. And Rika is like kind of right in the middle.
Yeah. Because
there's height to it, and yet she's able to put on that triple toe, which is so much harder for even, when we've seen Wakaba's triple axel in warm-ups or practice.
Like, bam! It's like
that's like the old school huge arc one that I would imagine is hard for her to make a combo. But it's really nice to see. I'm a big fan.
And it's interesting, Tursunbayeva went back to her attire roots. She was there before, then she, did the Orser thing. Never extremely successful. We remember her mom very into the thing. I don't think Orser worked that heavily with her. And I think you could kind of see this weekend. There was some weird thing about like who Brian would sit in the kiss and cry with and not. And, in the short, I thought it was like ridiculous, like fake news about nothing. And then in the free skate, I was like, what is going on? But anyway, that was, I think that they went back. I think it works for her. She is still like the tiniest little thing you've ever seen in your life. And I think it works. Right. It's all just, it's going. And she, very successful here. Starr Andrews, I thought more of the same there.
Correct. Do you see when I don't, in an attempt to just maintain a mood, I'm just letting certain things just go. So yes, more of the same from Starr.
Correct, right? Yeah. More of the same?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think people get from that the same thing they will from the Dennis 10 tribute. If you want to see Dennis in a program that was already choreographed, you will see Dennis. If you want to see Starr Andrews as the big, exciting talent, you will see what you want and move forward.
I have many thoughts about that, what I'm basically calling an over-rotated double axel that's constantly included there. I think that it could be very dangerous to continue to do that kind of thing, but I don't.
I'm wondering where it's going to go. Will they stay with Derek in the way that Jason stayed with Corey, or will they try to move to a Corey aid or to a Tom Z situation, and will Mitch try to intervene? At what point? I'm wondering where this goes. But I don't think Raphael will take her.
I was going to say, you have to have the coach that wants, that really believes they will take it to the next level, and I'm wondering if other coaching teams see the cap.
I think Corey is thirsty enough.
Potential there.
Tom always seems thirsty, but yet now he has all of these Korean girls who can really do the jumps.
That are doing well by him. So I don't know why he would necessarily invite someone. He may not wonder, or he may wonder if he could really help, or if there is a next level to be found.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious there. But how about the men? So this was a really exciting couple of days. You know, first of all, at Ondrej Nepela, we did see Kihira do his Carmen. Look, he is...
with a killer quad toe. And I was like, why weren't you doing the quad toe the whole time? Why were you teasing us with that quad Lutz? Like, and it was so good in the short.
I read interviews where he still wants to do the quad Lutz and the quad Sao. It's going to take time. They're still working on it. But you watch him, and it really seems like he is on an upward trajectory. He's a solid top 5, top 3 man in the world. I mean, there's so much depth there at the top that it's, you know, it could change by the day, depending on who has a hangnail. But I think... and
that's exciting. That's, to me, the best kind of season. Is when you've got a crop of quality people. And, you know, it may be Carmen. It's a quality I think... again, there's this revisionist history that he doesn't have good skating skills. I think he has great skating skills, and I enjoy what he's sending a message of athleticism and quality skating.
He has that Russian machismo back that doesn't move, you know, that when they skate and it's not as maybe open. Expressive upper body, but he has a power to him when he moves across the ice that really creates a mood, you know, and from, you know, his school of skating.
I hate when people use masculine skating as a compliment for obvious reasons, but it is it's very strong upper body skating. There is strength in the posture and in the deportment, which is very effective.
Yeah. It's like a Russian pair skater, or when you see Barishnikov, you know, on the... yeah,
Nijinsky, Nureyev, this open, expansive kind of thing that happens. It's really nice.
So... not Nureyev as much, Jonathan, but I get what you're saying.
Oh, well, you know why we like Nureyev is because he did the Muppet Show.
Yes.
He danced Swine Lake with Miss Piggy.
Whatever. You're just getting a payback for your little mezzo comment last week, all right? So...
my mezzo comment?
Where I was like, it's a soprano, and then you go, well, a mezzo. You know... maybe Barishnikov, maybe not Nureyev doing Afternoon of a Faun, Jonathan. Okay, that was a little more Adam Rappan than I was trying to discuss. Not all Russians are created equal.
But Dave, mezzo-soprano is a type of soprano. You were totally right. You were totally right.
Yeah, say it again, okay? Totally right. I'm kidding. Anyway, so let's... so... I thought he looked fantastic. I think he's going to have a really successful season. I think it's really moving in that direction. He kind of has the little Ilya Kulik look to his face, you know, like the flush and the hair and it's like
the coloring. Yeah, it's nice.
It's nice. It's a good little thing there. Exciting for Russia to have kind of two strong men right now that are, you know,
that actually are giving me both quality skating and an attention to choreography and quality jumps. I mean, Aliyev a little up and down with the consistency of it, but I mean, I will always look forward to seeing them in a competition.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's move over to wherever the heck in Canada we're pretending this competition was. It's not in Montreal anyway, and frankly, I didn't really look where this competition was taking place. It's somewhere near Toronto, nor do I really care, to be honest. So
yeah, it doesn't really matter.
It was on skatecanada.ca for me. That's where it was.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, the commentators are... so Canadian. You know, I think the more, if you miss the skate and you have to go back, the more Ted Barton seems to be praising you, the worse the program went. And
yeah, it's a compensatory. Yeah, I understand.
He's very Canadian in that way. And then Debbie Wilkes really, at this point, is that woman from SNL on the radio in that skit. Like, that is really just... Yeah.
I enjoy what he's saying, even though it's, you know, a generic and everyone gets an A for effort. Like, there is at least some commentary, and hers just often was a bit a waste of time, I felt. But the other thing that's bothering me really with this, now I don't know if this is ISU, and maybe we talked about this last time, is when they dub over that music.
I hate it.
I don't understand the point of it, because in some ways, yes, you're hearing the music a bit more prominently. It never, to me, seems quite lined up.
No.
It's like just a little layered on, and maybe they missed it by a millisecond because skaters that I know are doing movements with the music. I was like, there's no way they're off by that millisecond and have missed it. I have to be convinced that that's the recording.
So you were having a lot of feelings about overdubbing of the music right as this, your connection started to go south.
I think it was my emotional intensity was shorting out the connection. Well, they must think that the dubbing of the music helps the listener hear it better or something. I'm not quite sure, but it's not always timed exactly right. Sometimes the skater seems to be missing a moment that they give me a hair later, and I don't believe that's probably actually happening. And to me, the crowd involvement is very much a part of it. You know, I go back and watch that Michelle Kwiatkowski at Nationals, and it's because the crowd and the frenzy that's been created in the arena is really adding to that experience. It's not just the program. So when you take away people clapping and when you take away that kind of noise and energy when these pieces are climaxing, you miss a part of it.
Yeah.
You know, and then they bring in the audience sound that seems it's very strange. So I don't know if ISU is doing that. It often happens in the Challenger series, and I hope that it stops once we get to the Grand Prix.
It usually stops in the Grand Prix. So I always I don't know if you were watching the warm-ups, Anyway, they had some interesting interviews with Dylan about his acting career and everything, and it was like very forced, but it was great.
Yeah, I saw Dylan trying to do some like kiss and cry interviews that made me very uncomfortable.
You know, but I thought that the Canadian skaters...
It's his birthday today, so how about that for your birthday shout-out?
The Canadian skaters
were awkward fluff.
They were really good at fake laughing, especially Weaver. Like, you could see her in the picture. Like, she looked fantastic about it. So...
Yeah.
So the men here, this really looked like Jason Brown on paper was set up to really like show off, make a mark, make his movement, and it looked like he did in the short program, and then going into the free skate with the new look, the new Jason without Ruheen, again Simon and Garfunkel, again a Sandra Stars on Ice. Thing that she had done.
Nostalgia.
Yes, in 2000. It was really her kind of thing going here. It became that we couldn't even see the program because the mistakes in the beginning were so glaring, and when Jason misses that axle, that it's all he has, and then he is not always the most competitive skater to where when the mistake happens, rebounding, and seizing the moment. Someone brought up that at an NHK when Hanyu got hurt, he lost to Voronov at an event he probably should have won on paper, and it seemed like there was some of that going on here to where this was not his moment. He's making some changes, not as big as Medvedeva's. His body hasn't changed as much. They're reworking, things on the axle, but they're not making gigantic changes.
They're making adjustments, not recreating, basically. Yeah.
The thing that I thought I really struggle with, and Brian did it, and Corey did it with him, and sometimes Corey have him go for it. The fake, the placeholder for the quad. Now we've been waiting for this quad, like you wait for Santa to come, you wait for a lot of things. I don't want to be offensive, but you wait for a lot of things, and I don't think it's coming in the coming months. So I struggle with even putting that in for believability at this point. I think that at a certain point you have to be like, all right, what's going on here? I don't think that the quad, and I don't think it's getting you any more points. To put the quad in. I mean, look, it's negligible. He could switch it out with a double axle or something, but it just, to me, looks funny as the opening jump in a free skate. Yeah.
And why it's funny, Dave, I think it's for the exact reason you mentioned about his internal person. Mm-hmm. He is a performer, artist, a dancer. Like, he is really those things first and foremost. And many sensitive artists that have come before him, if it starts off wonky, it's hard to pivot the mindset for him, I think. It's a bit resigned to be like, well, damn it, versus someone like Adam, when he would put that placeholder, I like that, or go for the quad lutz in the beginning of the program, knowing it probably wasn't going to be. Merely him trying it revved him up as a competitor, so that even if he missed it, there was an intensity still that would happen in the program afterwards. So for someone like Adam, I felt like that encouraged, and for someone like Jason, it seems to detract. So that's why.
Jason is like he's like our baby bird that Tracy Wilson has that she's bringing, to us. And I just felt like, I think when he, and it's a planned double sal because he can't do a triple because then that will work the whole, what he's repeating and not, in the second half for bonus and everything like that. The big thing here was popping the axle. Now, he did the most beautiful triple axle of his career. He got +1 to +4 in the short program for it. I mean, Jason Brown.
And the flip GOEs were like out of this world.
+3 to +5. I broke down his elements to really look at the points here. So, he got the +3 to +5. On the flip, he got an extra 2 points. Both added 2 points and change to both the axle and the flip. And this program is so meant for, this system is so helpful to Jason to stay relevant. He got almost 1.5 points, 1.25 to 1.4 on all of his spins and footwork. Obviously, he could get us a level 4 in the footwork. That would be a great goal, for the Grand Prix. The short program looks ready. It looks ready to compete. The combo, a little shaky. He did get an under rotation on the Lutz. But it looks like he's in good condition for moving it forward. I just now, after seeing that he didn't medal at a Senior B, I'm questioning if they're going to be able to pull off the bronze at the Grand Prix, because while everything he's working and he's trying and he's making the moves, the problem he's having is that so are other skaters. And even though the free is beautiful, and he was getting components 8.8, 8.7, 8.8, those need to be in the 9s in the short if he wants to be competitive. He needs to really make a mark, and you have to get that through consistency and reputation. His biggest problem is probably a skater who's really delightful in the rink, but Junhwa Cha is coming on so strong right now. He's got lovely skating skills. He's got the wind in the hair going on. And he has just... I thought that the short, the music was not great. I just thought it sounded like noise at certain parts. But the free skate, his personality is really coming out, even though he's doing the Romeo and Juliet from the 90s with Leonardo DiCaprio. I thought that it was just... Look, he's doing 2 quads, great technique, everything. His personality is emerging, more needs to come, but it's like really, he is such a thorn in Jason Brown's side right now.
Okay, let's talk it out. So I was very excited for Jason to go to Toronto, right? And to see this new look. I've got to tell you, the long doesn't really do it for me. The short program, I think, is amazing. Even though I know in the past I have said, I feel like we've seen what the Roheen-Jason combo looks like. But this felt very inspired and new. I don't know if Roheen was bringing extra A game because he was going to be in Toronto and, you know what I mean? Working with new sets of coaches and really wanted to deliver his finest product. But I think this is one of their greatest collaborations since the Prince short program or something.
I thought it had hints of the Prince in here. I thought the music got a little snoozy, but it was a great aesthetic overall.
Yeah, I don't know. I was there for it. I was like, this is clicking. It may not be what I would have chosen, but I was very taken with the short. So hats off to Roheen and Jason on that one. It was actually the David Wilson one that fell a little non-specific to me. I think it was a bit of a generic thing, and maybe that could be them getting to know one another. And now you watched on Skate Canada, so were you watching live?
Yeah.
Okay, so I had to go through the YouTube sources, and they cut out almost the whole first chunk of music, which I'm very aware, especially for someone as musical as Jason. I was like, what's happening? It wasn't until the second half that they let the sound come back in.
So I really think that David is a great collaborator in as an artist, and maybe because he doesn't know Jason as well and he didn't know Medvedev as well. but I felt both programs would have been more successful if he brought Sandra in, because he did the most gorgeous piece for Javier Fernandez when she was involved, and I thought that the Medvedeva short was so effective and so new for her, and I think that and sometimes I go again, in Medvedeva's case, I don't love his tango edit. I think it goes way too long on the bandeon section, where it just starts to sound like noise as we're going to 3 minutes, and I'm like, okay, this is going on, and it needs more melody, and I felt there was just something missing. Even though they're stripping Jason down, I felt like there could have been more of something added in that's not there yet.
I'm just willing to own that I really thought this was exciting departure, but yet it made me preferring still this Rohini short program for Jason. Now, but I am obsessed with your idea of Jason using Benoit. Not that I think that that will ever happen as long as he's in Toronto. Most likely he'll continue to use David. But I think when you see Brady's programs and certain arm movements and gestures, they cry out for Jason to do them. And I thought that was just a great idea that you had. Now, if for the young Korean skater.
Did I say Jason should do Benoit? But no, I had someone else with Benoit. Who did I put?
Oh, are you...
I can't take credit for that. I don't think that was my idea. Benoit was someone else, but that was...
Oh, I'm sorry. Then never mind.
What? Yes.
But if it had been, I would have thought it was a great idea.
Yes. And now I'm blanking on it because the context is gone.
Okay.
But it was someone last week. Okay.
I misremembered that.
Yeah.
But now with the young Korean skater also, like, obviously the quads are looking... of a point of view, and actually the Korean skaters work with Shaylin and these very cool modern like rolling of the shoulder things that were happening in the long program was very exciting, and I loved the idea. Some of the music edits, some of the yelling, some of the screaming that was happening was a bit comical, but this kind of modern dance rolling of the shoulders that she was bringing out in him was a real click.
You know, Shay has a lot of, like, upper body stuff that she does. And sometimes it feels on top of the music to me as dictated by the music. It's just a stylistic thing where she seems like on top of the beat and on top of the music and pushing things that maybe aren't there in the music, but she's finding them. And it was with some of the other skaters. I think that June, it's developing nicely. I think, you know, it's really just...
Especially if they go more in the direction of the way this free skate went.
You look at
Worlds.
Worlds.
The judges will go for it.
Worlds 2020. If he stays on this course, I think it'll be really good. I think by fall of 2020, he is going to be a world fighting for the medals in every big competition. If they stay the course with him, he is clearly on the right track. If he stays healthy, stays moving forward, it's going.
Because I think. Yeah, he was 15th at the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I mean, was kind of around, but I was like, wow, this was a real statement. This was a real step up. So I hope that in the second time I see him this season, it's as strong and that this wasn't the rarity.
I don't think it will be. You know, he was still junior last year. He's been emerging. You know, he had a moment where he had like a junior Grand Prix moment, and then he made it to the Olympics, and then like it's slowly, slow and steady wins the race. But you see him a lot. And the one thing I thought is that, I don't know how to put this delicately, but you know how David Wilson was trying to say that Yuna was more closed off before she came to them, and then when she went to Toronto, they really opened up her personality. She became more expressive. I feel like there's some of that happening with June, where we're getting to learn his personality more because he's expressing it more. You know, like the culture is more open. And he's expressing more on the ice, and that tends to lend itself well. And I think we're kind of seeing that he has this really engaging personality. It's kind of sweet and endearing, and it's subtle, but there's a nice quality to him, you know. And if they can work on the extension and really do it through, I think it'll be I think he has a really great knees. His are fantastic. There's just an overall lightness that he has on the ice that's really nice.
And what he was doing in the free skate is so specific to him, and I cannot say other people skate like that. And to me, that's what was the ultimate standout. You know, we've seen many skaters like randomly hit and then sneak in for a medal, and it's just kind of nondescript, but they showed up and were solid. But there's something very specific to him that's unique to him specifically that I think is a very promising sign.
Yeah. All right. What did you make of the Hanyu tribute programs? Atonial and Origin, which is the tribute to Nijinsky that Plushenko skated to. What do you make of Hanyu 2018-2019 so far?
I understand that they're tribute programs. They don't scream tribute to me.
They're nice.
Which
they're
nice.
I
almost prefer that they're not, you know, caricatures of those that he was trying to tribute. You know what I mean? I enjoyed both of them. I thought they were delightfully uncluttered.
Yes.
I thought it was a straightforward kind of thing. And there's a swagger. I'm going to use the word cocky, but I don't mean it in a negative way. There's a confidence that he can literally do anything with his body and know that it's good. And it really resonates, I think, throughout both programs. And whether that's because he's emulating others for the tribute, or whether it's just he's won everything he wants. You know what I mean? Like he has nothing to prove, only to perform, and that kind of cockiness or confidence shows through. It was like, remember at the end of the Grand Prix when he threw his arms up and like I did it. It's kind of more of that all along, it's very effective.
He's doing iconic things too on the ice. His entrances and exits to the triple axels are things that people will study and try to recreate in the way the Peggy Fleming spread eagle, double axel, spread eagle. He's doing the spread eagle, triple axel to the twizzle. I mean, it is really difficult, intricate, some of the best, quality stuff that we've ever seen. I think his quads will certainly get there. We saw him add the quad loop. He's going for 4 quads in the free. With his quality and these points, Nathan is coaching himself for a couple of months. You can kind of see where this is going. He, of course, is coming back from severe injuries. You could tell lesser training time. I thought with both Xenia and Yuzu, you could tell they really hadn't done as many run-throughs and worked as much on the spins. In both. He got no points for the change combo spin in the short, I believe, without looking down at my notes. It was one of the spins. I believe the change combo, it was, got an invalid element. There was, a struggle.
I'm so sorry. Speaking of spins, I think it's Brady's final spin in the free skate where she enters with like a faux death drop and then kind of like crosses the legs right into the rest of it. And it was my favorite moment of that program. It was so, I actually went like, it was really exciting. So I just wanted to mention that because spins can be fun, everyone.
So, what I thought about Hanyu is, he has later Grand Prix. Xenia has to get ready for October 25th. I think with a month, it'll be better for her. She said she's going to be ready to skate clean by then. I don't know that should even be the goal. I think she should stay on this path and keep going, and it'll get a better result. But we'll see.
Yeah, because I like with this kind of confidence and cachet that they have, they aren't here to win. They're here to practice.
Yeah. This does not matter. For June, winning the long program here is the biggest moment in his life. This is not even a blip for Medvedeva, for Hanyu. This is just a practice. This is just...
They're test runs, which to me is a great way to use these senior Bs. Yeah.
And for Brady, this is such a huge moment. Confidence building, momentum building as she goes. You want to make sure you don't peak too early with any of these people. Brady, I thought, actually, going back, I thought that a couple of the jumps, I would have loved the review camera on them in the free, but it didn't matter. She would have won anyway.
I mean. And whereas we used to never need them for her. but she's approaching well, or less so. It was more clear when a lot of them were clean. I just think they're revving up the difficulty, and so inevitably it's going to be a curve. So, but I enjoyed the Hanyu programs.
I loved the gold. I mean, his costumes are not always my favorite. I loved the free skate costume. I really liked the Nijinsky program more than the Otonyo. I never know if it's Otonal Otonyo. That has the enye, I think. So, but they never pronounce it.
The tilde.
The tilde.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be Otonyo. Yeah, but whatevs. Elkin Cabas, please settle this for us. Anyway,
exactly.
Let's go, Elkin Cabas. Sorry. Let's go for the pairs, because your pair had a moment here. I kind of forget who choreographed which one of their programs. I know that Cizeron did one. I believe Charlie White worked with them on the other. And does Vanessa James have the same bodysuit for every program, or is she paying for different black cat suits? What's going on here? Because
he repeated that gray pants, beautiful black shirt thing, so I'm assuming it's just the same.
They have one theme going on all the time.
And I like the theme, so just keep at it.
Yeah. It's not as over... Look, it's stripped down compared to, like, other things that we've seen, repeated themes. But they bring in new contemporary music that doesn't sound exactly the same as old contemporary music. But the overall aesthetic is very modern, rough, kind of raw with them. But it works. They look more and more confident, I think.
Yeah, and it's the side-by-sides we forget. Like, it's just not something to worry about like we worry about with others.
And they add the Moskvina touches of the getting the limbs in the same,
And I know that a lot of these people are all about the same height, but when they skate so broad, their wingspan together just on, hand in hand, like crossovers or something like that. It just creates this aesthetic of strength and grandeur that's really, really nice. And it's very endearing because they strike me as adults. That are doing this. They seem in charge. And I love that, like, at the end when they're, like, messing up it's clear they hadn't really thought about the ending or of the free. Like, she was like, should I put my foot down now? And I actually got nervous because it stopped their momentum and it looked like she jerked back and stuff. And that he was kind of like, oh, we're such idiots. And she was like, oh, we're ridiculous. I kind of like this approach, again, that they're just throwing ingredients in and they're going to see what happens. It doesn't have to be ready yet.
But I think John and Sylvia, and you could kind of see with Kevin Imose, they have a different, more contemporary view to skating, and it works that it's pushing the sport forward. Vanessa was a little scary on the throw flip, It's actually contemporary.
Yes. Like, I think some people are trying contemporary, but it misses the mark. Like, sometimes certain church services, if they try to have like a modern music service.
The guitar mass of the 90s at the Catholic
and you're like,
Church.
this is cringy. This isn't modern. So now you've lost the traditionalist and anyone who wants modern. So, but they're in my opinion, some of the only few that are actually doing modern programs. And the throws, Dave, they're very scary for me. I don't know if the Saucao will always be an issue because they've toyed with quad versus not quad.
I'm so glad we're not seeing the scary quad, I have to say. I know Megan Duhamel will disagree, but I like to see the cleanliness. So, and the big...
But then don't you think they should almost just replace it with a whole other throw? Do a throw loop or something, because I just wonder when you... Like, even... I think Megan's throw triple lutz got a little funky after they stopped practicing the throw quad lutz. And I would just think...
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe a total departure from Saucao land may help.
It would be interesting, their throw loop. You have to go down the rabbit hole of all of their programs and track it. But I thought that the throw flip was a little dicey, but she hung on like that gritty girl that she is, and it kind of works for them even when they have little mistakes, because you don't expect them to look like Tarasova and Morozov and the short program kind of look to them. You accept a little rough around the edges quality. But because they're so confident. And that's what it is. It's the confidence and the body language. And I was thinking about Kirsten Moore-Towers and Michael Marinaro and what is working and what's not working. Because I think they look more polished than they have in the past. They had a lot of mistakes, obviously, in the free skate, but I was looking at the short and I'm like, what? You know, everyone's doing the same elements. What is going to take them to the next level?
Separate them. Yeah, exactly.
And I was thinking confidence is the biggest thing I could think of, in addition to polishing everything, which we don't necessarily think of Bruno Marcotte as doing. But I was thinking, like, the overall look and the pristine quality, to them, it just looks like the confidence of knowing that they're going to be clean every time. They don't have, you know, and I think that they can achieve clean, but that needs to become the base, you know, the bench and the benchmark, and then moving ahead. They have a lot of, you know, they're doing another brick in the wall. To me, they haven't found a completely unique style in the way that Vanessa and Morgan have, which is hard to do. Some of that is organic. I have to tell you, I know that Megan's going to yell at us about the points, and the points of the double axel half loop Salchow with Kirsten and Michael. But to me, and I cannot scientifically prove this, but when you're jumping at two different even times and it looks like such a want, such a struggle to do the double axel Euler triple sal. When you do it, and it's at different times and different speeds, and we're landing on the edges, and it's like the Titanic, and we're, you know, really struggling. Do the components, does the overall impression of the program dip because of what a mess that jumps?
Well, and it's a thing. To do that kind of thing is very difficult. There's a reason no one else is really doing it. And in the same way that Tim and Ashley will do these unique things, but inevitably, because they are so unique, it's difficult to do them in sync.
And if you don't do it, I'm deducting your components. Whether I want to or not, it's subconscious that I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it just doesn't give a super unified look. And when you lose that, then what are we doing? Then we're just like, when like Courtney Hicks and some skater in Colorado just post them doing side-by-side jumps together on a freestyle session. The whole point of you being a quality pair means it has to have a cohesive kind of quality to it. And it may be impossible to achieve with that difficult of a pass.
Yeah.
And with a +5 margin, I don't know. You can gain a lot more by doing something that's cleaner looking, more unified looking.
So one of the things I love about Megan is that, like, of the many, and they're all unintentional. She has no idea she does this at all. But one of the things I appreciate is that, like, she'll be just like filming Kirsten and Michael's back outside death spiral, and she's like, best back outside death spiral in the world. And you know that Megan has kind of like considered this, and she's like looking at this, and you're like, I didn't even know that was like what we were competing for this year, like that. I didn't know that was the element. I remember Oksana Kazakova like really struggling with it in Nagano, falling on the warm-up, but like I didn't know that this was like the element that yes, Megan, we are going to give the medal to Kirsten, and let's do it. So
that Kazakova moment was, I'll remember you and Emily were talking about Ilinik and Nikita, and they were like, oh, you're making mistakes on things I didn't know you could make mistakes on.
Yes.
And we take for granted how difficult some of these death spirals are for certain people, because then it's only when they start messing it up you're like, wait,
and the back outside is
thing?
the more difficult one. Yes,
yeah, of course, but like to see someone like falling and struggling in an Olympic warm-up, you're like, whoa, wait, really? Yeah.
And it looked like she was relearning it in the Olympic warm-up. That was the real thing there.
What do I do on this? Yeah.
That was such a moment. God bless Megan Duhamel. She actually did, I don't remember if you remember, but remember when she had the framed photo of her in the split in the lift, trying to prove that she was as flexible?
Circling the toe. Yeah.
Yes, loved it. God bless her.
I love that dedication to it.
I love her so much. Much. My favorite. And I also love Deanna and Nate. So Jim Peterson, this ruined his week. So this is a stupid ISU rule, and because pairs is the short school bus of the disciplines in the ISU, and there are so few pairs, because one pair withdrew and there were only 4, they wouldn't get ISU points for this event. So now they are going and flying to enter into Nebelhorn because they competed in a Senior B and got no points for it. So you know that roiled him. And then Deanna and Nate have been working on the side-by-side jumps. Apparently Nate had a mental block doing the jump in the program, and then he worked with a sports psychologist, and it's been getting better. But he missed it in the free. She missed the throw again in the short, which she had missed at Mid-Atlantics. And they lost here to Ashley and Tim, and Deanna was just pissed. So
I would have been.
She was not pissed about the losses, she's pissed about the skate, you know? And
of course.
But I like the fact that there's some competitiveness having between the U.S. pairs, because if the U.S. pairs are ever going to jump to the next level, that is what they need. And perhaps when everyone is doing kind of the same elements, this is a real window of opportunity for the U.S. pairs. So now we get to see them against Alexa and Chris next week against that debut. So that's exciting. And I think Deanna and Nate, because you're skating to Whitney Houston, I was thinking that no one saw it anyway, because the music, the first piece is, the Run to You is blocked on all of YouTube and all these things. But I was thinking that they need a theme too. And I sent this to her. So they're skating to Whitney. Because it's very important, your narrative. Remember, like, I told Jenny, like, how come Angela Nikodinov got all of the dead sympathy points? Oh, Yana Orr just commented again. I got a notification on my phone. That makes me a little nervous. So I had to block some Spanish attire fan that people got very upset about. So it was too much.
It's always something.
I'm like, you're not even Russian, and you're taking this too far. So,
and no one's talking about Russia. Someone's just talking about a particular approach, and well, whatever. I don't know why.
People got too upset with him in the comments. We had to make a judgment call, but
we're citizens of the world.
Yeah, I needed to be not annoyed by everyone. So let's.
What's the narrative for Deanna?
What's the narrative? Remember, Jenny didn't get the dead mom points the way that Angela Nikodinov did. So I think that, and this is just what I do because I do communications about this all the time, that they should do the Whitney Houston free skate is a tribute to everyone grappling with addiction and substance use disorder, especially in the wake of the opioid epidemic. They could be raising awareness. And I think that
they could be on every morning talk show.
That's what they're doing that is what they are doing with their tribute. It was a program already choreographed, like Weaver's was already choreographed, and it's now a tribute. And I think that this is how we are dealing with the pain of addiction that we have all. Look, Jonathan, you know people, I know people, everyone has. People will see what they want to see. It would be the most genius marketing strategy in all of skating. I think we need to really talk about.
Yeah, it thrusts you to the front of all the fluff pieces.
Right,
yeah.
Right? That we don't even have anymore. And then we could get that Jordan from On the Ice Perspectives, who seems to be kissing the butt of all of the skaters. We could be then getting him to film it. Deanna and Nate could be backlit, filming, talking about the free skate, talking about Whitney, where they were when she passed, and then talking about, the addiction. And I think that that's also what Weaver and Poge need to do about Dennis, and then have some B-roll over, and like it'll just get you to the front. Force yourself in the marketing conversation. It works with the ladies who watch skating. I was looking at how Dennis 10, how effective it was for all who I would consider the cat ladies of skating, and I was looking at who loved it and what things, and yes, it would be genius. Okay, so that is...
So did she say okay?
She laughed.
She sent a thumbs up emoji. Okay.
She's like, that is...
Much,
but yes.
But it's a plan. It's a plan.
That's skating. Ashley and Tim, their second win. So this is bad for them, too. They don't get ISU points for their win. Their second Senior B title, everyone's competing for points. They likely will have enough, but when you don't make it to Worlds, these things matter. So I think that's a thing on the ISU that needs to be corrected.
I agree.
If we don't have enough pairs to do Senior Bs, that's unfair. The fact that it's not your fault that someone else withdrew and you still won, and there should be some sort of a caveat. If you achieve a certain score, it still counts. So
I agree.
Yeah. That's kind of what I think, because I think we'll run into this problem more in the future.
Several times. Yeah, exactly.
But I thought as we move forward to the dance, talking about the tribute, what did you make of Weaver and Poche, in all seriousness? What did you make of the thing? I was thinking politically, before we get, they are so genius this season. Because they have Nikolai taking all of the credit. And meanwhile, they're also working with Pasquale and Igor. So you have two political animals in Igor and Nikolai both working together for you. That is so genius. And I think that they looked more prepared than Hubble and Donahue. They're still Weaver and Poche. The Twizzles still suck. They still look kind of slow, and they could have much better... Oh, please, I'm not saying anything that they don't know about the Twizzles. They would tell you that. But I thought that they looked senior. It brought me back to the days when all of the teams were in their 30s that were at the top, or at least their late 20s. And I thought that they had a more senior look than any of the other teams in a presentation here that I appreciated, you know.
In a polish and a sophistication. For me, it's just at times with her emotive approach, sometimes comes across to me as less sincere. Same thing when she kept being moved by herself last season every time at the end of the free dance. And it was, she seems amazing. She's a beautiful girl. Like she's well-spoken, like everything seems great. And I understand that ice dance, you rev up the drama. But again, as a performer, I questioned its authenticity versus its put on quality. Actually, I didn't mind the free dance.
It was nice.
It was easy to understand. It was very safe. I thought they create some very classic, beautiful moments.
They brought back all of our favorite moves that they've ever done.
Not necessarily innovative ones or new ones.
I love the split, the lift that they do. Look, I love it too.
It's effective. It has a sparkly quality to it, and it does seem to fit them, for example, maybe more than even though I prefer Hubble and Donahue as a team, the free dances,
this works easier. This is easier to digest.
Easier to get, exactly. And the Romeo and Juliet will need a relook, whether in the material or the way in which they're doing it, because Weaver and Poche, again, things are in flux for dance also right now. And they made a very strong case that whether we think it's going to leave an impact on the history of the sport, these programs could get them right on that world podium.
I think the risk they're taking with touring will either be the best decision or the worst decision, because they're so close to getting that like silver medal, really. Because I think at this point they scored higher than Hubble. Of course, passive-aggressive Canada made sure that happened, but I think that probably, I can see a case for it. But I think, although their skating skills and the Twizzles are... There's a lot. Look, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So I think...
it's an interesting thing because as of the tour then, because they probably did stand a very good chance at doing okay in the Grand Prix, making the final and getting a medal there even.
But look, they're not getting all the opportunities, all the shows that Tess and Scott, so they kind of have to run with this. It's a great opportunity.
When they're given that opportunity.
They were given the opportunity. It's going to be really exciting. I think sold out crowds around, and that's, once in a lifetime, maybe twice in a lifetime if it really works. But I think you're out of the training mindsets. You're not going to have your food. You're not going to have your Pilates. You're not going to be getting the same kind of rest or discipline. That you are going to be getting so many more performance opportunities, which is obviously a huge benefit. So it could...
Especially now, do you find like a disconnect in their Twizzles and things like that? Like we have seen such a variety of things go wrong with them.
It's such a lack of confidence. There's such a lack of skill.
So doing their competitive programs over and over again, which I don't know if that's their strategy for the tour or if they will literally be doing exhibition programs instead. But to me, if it's a mental block, doing it every night may numb you to that whole experience in a positive way.
So the thing I was thinking about is the twizzles and the timing of the intricacy of the step in the rhythm dance. Is doing the tango is the biggest thing that you would lose by not having a coach. Because the French were doing a lot of shows, and you just miss little timing things that you have when you have a coach. Even if they give you that one correction a week that sticks in, right. It's worth the money.
But it gives you something to be honing in on and improving, not just repetition. Yeah.
So I was thinking, for them, we saw Scott Moyer. The Canadians love skating, and they're students of it. And I was thinking, even if Tessa Virtue is doing all of the interviews and being a PR person that she is, which she's fantastic at, if you have Scott Moyer in the rink and he gives you like a couple of things,
an observation, yeah.
Or even you say, Scott, will you look after us a little bit in the warm-up and push us so we make the most of the rehearsal time? That would be another set of eyes that could really help them and an expertise. So I could really see him being helpful in that way towards them.
And wanting to help because there is something for them also about this nationalistic pride in their skating.
If they have everyone on board, because the Canadians all seem competitive and united, so if you say, like, we really do want to stay competitive, help us stay in that bubble, I think they will help you. It is a more mature group, so it doesn't seem like the partying will be as bad as you can imagine on a tour bus. It's not like this is the first time.
I love like when Megan's like, I just want to sit in the back of the bus and read my book. Like,
yes, but that's it's not the first time any of these people are doing shows, so it's not the free for all that we've heard that can go on. So, but it there is pluses and minuses. So I'll be curious. But
yeah, and what I will say, Dave, about the construction of the program, and it's. How like when television shows can manipulate you by playing all the right music at the right time, and suddenly you're like, am I about to cry? Mm-hmm. Am I about to cry watching this weird show I don't even care about? They do that with the arc of their free dance. And they know how it's a build and it's a build and it's a build. And then all of a sudden there is that like moment of abandon that I think that they will continue to work on how to maximize that moment, but they have that moment built in. Mm-hmm. And it's total emotional manipulation, and it works. I think crowds will go nuts at that one point.
What was their narrative going to be before Dennis passed? Because they had one if this program was created, and yes, apparently he skated to this music, but I wonder, because there's clearly stuff choreographed where they're looking at the sky. Now, that was clearly something that had a different meaning before Dennis passed, that now everyone who watches it is going to be like, and they're looking up at him, and she said this one was for Dennis, and it all, works, and you believe it, and you're going to cry, and other people are going to cry watching it. So that's just such a genius marketing move that it kind of works, and maybe it gives them a new inspiration for this. So... But yes, they know how to... They're ice dancers. They're manipulating us, okay? That's what's happening.
Yeah.
But one thing that I don't recall... so Olivia has like a similar look. Like, I don't have the best eyesight, so like looking at afar, she kind of like resembled Madison Hubble. And so they're both blonde. They're both approximately the same height. They're muscular girls. So like you look at them. I don't recall... And to me, she's like the bad Madison. Like, it was like Zach was dating Madison. Now she's like the soap opera villain. Like, there's a little like look in the eye that I kind of love. Like, she's really exciting for Ice Dance. Now, what I love is that I don't recall the Beatles ever having this like I woke up in my boyfriend's dress shirt over my nightgown aesthetic going on. So I was curious about A Day in the Life and Let It Be.
It was the 60s. Stuff like that happened. I don't know.
It reminded me more of this GQ like interview that it just brought it back to me that Paul McCartney gave about him and John Lennon, and looking at pictures of Bridget Bardot. My mom's very upset about it. It like ruined Paul McCartney for her. She's very mad about it. But I'm like, I like that Olivia really is bringing the sex to the Beatles in a way that I didn't know was there.
No, it's possible. Yeah, okay.
But to me, this team, third year together, it looks like it's happening. It's coming together more than I thought. It doesn't look like they're pushing their way forward, but they're kind of climbing in their own way together, finding their style. Yeah.
So now, how do you compare their chances then? Because are we still limited to one Spanish team
Yeah.
at these?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
So I feel like Hurtado has something about it just seems a little slick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I still think they may be the front runners here.
Now, Olivia looks way more polished, I think, at this point than she ever has in the past. So I'll be curious to see what Olivia and Adria, what happens. I do think
both teams are interesting enough that I wish that they were given two spots. Like they're especially at a place like Europeans. I don't know why we only had one at Europeans, but
the drama of the two of them fighting does make it intellectually interesting to watch these competitions. So I think that draws interest. Unfortunately, the one thing I will say is that now that we're seeing so much of Marie-France choreography in so many teams, and we see it, is that there were moves that that Caroline and Shane did. And I was like, oh, the wrapping around the legs, that's from Tessa Virtue. This is from this person. This is from that. And but that happens whenever you see a choreographer doing that much work. But to me, Caroline and Shane looked pretty... there were a lot of moments in the free dance where they looked unsteady, not as polished as we're usually from them. I know that with the extension, and they're more diminutive, that we don't see them skate big as much, but it just looked like they were stumbling through it a little bit.
So now where do you think, because it will be interesting to see what happens in Canadian ice dance. I love
Piper and Paul.
So my question to you is about the third spot here, because also have we seen yet the formerly Danish, now Canadian team?
So they don't get to go to Worlds this year, the formerly Danish team, is my impression.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, because of that citizen change.
Yeah, I think that this is the year that they will have to sit out. So, and
I see.
Yeah.
But do you still see them maybe? I'll be intrigued who walks away with the bronze medal.
I think it'll kind of work for them in the long run, is that we have Caroline and Shane could go to Worlds this year, and then I don't see Weaver and Poget lasting 4 years, so I think that they could then move towards, next season. The formerly Danish team could now be Canadian, and they could make the Worlds. So is that kind of what
old Danish. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of the way as the world will turn. But you have to go get to Greece.
So soap opera-y, Dave.
I know.
As the world turns, Olivia's the soap opera villain. The TSL Days of Our Lives opening, or Young and the Restless opening.
Doesn't matter. It is just the way the world is turning. But you have to go get to Greece. Medvedeva has to go get to practice.
I have to go to Athens. All right.
Olivia has to go get dressed, and
it's just to slick that hair back again. Yeah. Okay.
There are plenty of skaters that need to hold an edge and look sexy. Bye, everyone.